The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 11th, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by Game Time and the Game Time app, your ultimate destination for all your ticketing needs, whether it be Miami Hurricanes, NFL, NBA, NHL, theater, concerts, you name it. Game Time has you covered. We'll talk more about Game Time later in the show. And also by Caneswear, your ultimate destination for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. You could shop Caneswear at 2655 South University Drive in Davie or at caneswear.com. They have everything a Hurricane fan could ever want. We'll talk more about Caneswear later in the show as well. But Matt, I thought today it's an off week, and we're using the opportunity to evaluate every area of the team, turning out midterm grades, so to speak, on every position, looking at other people's opinions on this team, and you really get some different viewpoints as you bounce around. It's such an interesting team with Cam Ward and his style of playing quarterback, the fact that they're 6-0, but there's also a reality that the last couple of weeks they were in some pretty precarious situations and easily could be sitting here with 2 losses right now with a season that's turned upside down. So I think the important thing for the Hurricanes and the coaches is to be doing the same thing we're doing, and I think that's what they are doing. You look at everything you've done under a microscope, you evaluate each and every aspect of the program, and then you come back next week and you try to be better as an organization for it, which leads me to my first question for you today. You have spent a lot of time looking at these different areas and assigning grades, and we've had you pretty much locked in the lab this week doing all that. What's your impressions of all this as we, conclude an open week and start to get ready for Louisville?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time evaluating the Good Morning CaneSport show, and I gave it an F grade. It gets an F because the hosts argue with each other all the time. They're super annoying. One of them has this like New York accent that's really tough to listen to. It's just not a show that anybody should be watching. So that was my. I went in the lab and that was my analysis.
So you gave it an F, huh?
F, yeah. And F does not stand for Ferman. F stands for total utter failure. Okay. But in terms of I did spend some time, obviously. Look, Pro Football Focus, I've sort of stopped using it as much because fans get annoyed because they say it's meaningless and coaches tend to agree with them. But, it is good for some things. It's not good when they're trying to assume that a player's responsibility was to be in a certain space and they didn't make the play. Because we don't know if the bust happened because of that player or if he was covering for somebody else. But what I do trust them somewhat to do as analysts is offensive line, pass blocking, run blocking grades. That's pretty clear cut, unless, an offensive lineman was supposed to be somewhere else, which again, they wouldn't know that, but you can tell when an offensive lineman gets beat or not. He winds up on the ground, okay? That's a -2 in the Pro Football Focus system. He puts the other guy on the ground, that's a +2. Like, that's pretty easy math. And the cornerbacks. The cornerbacks, if they're one-on-one and they're giving up this many catches on this many targets, and it's not a good number, they're not performing very well. Outside of that, there's an 80 grade versus 60 grade. Yeah, you could say that player is playing better than the other guy, but it could be a 72 versus 65. It's like predicting where a Hurricane's going to go. And, somebody posted on the YouTube channel that, like, Matt, I hope this was 3 days before it was supposed to hit. It was supposed to go right a direct hit on Tampa. And 3 days before it's supposed to hit Tampa, somebody posted on the message boards, not message boards, on the YouTube channel. He remembered from like 3 months ago or 2 months ago. I don't remember when I said this, but I said, I can't ever, I said, when I'm a week out from a hurricane and it's pointing right at me, I'm celebrating because it never goes where they say it's going to go. And this guy was in Tampa. It was 3 days before. Tampa was right in the line with it. And he wrote on the YouTube message, he's like, Matt, I'm trusting you on this one or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm barely even a sports reporter. I'm like just some schmuck, So don't anyone ever take what I say and take it to the bank or take it seriously or anything. Like, don't bet on me saying a score is going to be a score. My friends just text me, what's the score of the game? And I tell him my score that I think it's going to be. And then the next day he says, I won $600 thanks for the tip. Like, I was just sending you the score not for you to bet on it. I was saying that's my prediction, just like any other idiot out there who says, hey, at the water cooler, what do you think is going to happen in the game tonight? Miami's going to win by 8. It doesn't mean you're going to bet on it. So anyway, with that out of the way, cornerbacks have had issues. The offensive line has had issues. That's about all we can say from Pro Football Focus. I did break down everything else. You guys can all look at that. What I started doing after that was I started looking at Louisville film because to me, it's a one-game season. It's the most talented team Miami's going to face. Miami's got a perception problem right now because, like Gary F., as in Ferman, not as in failure, said, this team's had a couple of close calls. And now they have a bye week. They've been 1-7 in the last 8 games coming off bye weeks. They need to get right. They need to be on track. They need to show this is not the old Miami. This is the new Miami. Thank you, Manny Diaz. No, it's weird because you want to say it's the old Miami, but I don't know what that means anymore. So the old Miami, new Miami, you just don't want what happened in the last 20 years to keep happening, right? And so this is the game to me that really will define, at this point, Shannon Dawson's career, Lance Guidry's career, because last year was their first year here, right? And I would argue Shannon Dawson underperformed, and I'd argue Lance Guidry overperformed. And now this year, they're off to such a good start. And now, and you can argue that Virginia Tech's a middle-of-the-road ACC team. Cal's a middle-of-the-road ACC team. I would argue Louisville's the most talented team on the schedule now, and probably has been all year, regardless of the fact that they lost 2 games by a touchdown each, okay? Front to back, it's the most talented team. I've broken down all the analytics on it already. I've looked at the film of them. They're a really, really good offense. Probably, to me, the second most explosive offense in the ACC behind Miami. And on defense, I think their secondary is pretty similar to Miami. They have some problems there, and they lost their top safeties already in the transfer portal, who was supposed to be their top safety. I think their linebackers are actually playing a little better than Miami right now, and they're also a 4-2-5. And their defensive line, the only reason I'd give Miami an edge on the Louisville defensive line right now, Louisville has an All-American returner at defensive end, okay? And they've got other really good guys. The only reason I give Miami an edge there right now is because Miami has Tyler Barron, who should be on Louisville. So if Tyler Barron hadn't left Louisville for Miami, right, he went Tennessee, Louisville, and then he was at Louisville for a sip of coffee and went to Miami, then Louisville would have the edge on the defensive line. So it's a one-player difference on defense, and both offenses are really good. So this is a game that comes down to scheme and coaching, and Miami has a bye, and you saw what happened when Cal had a bye, right? So Miami, it's on Lance Guidry and Shannon Dawson to come out, and Miami should have a 2-touchdown lead by halftime. There's no reason they shouldn't, okay? They're a better team on offense, and they're a similar team on defense. And they have a week to prepare. They had a week to rest up. There's no excuses at this point. And if Lance Guidry comes out with the same, stuff he did the last 2 games where the opponent's averaging 36 points a game, and Louisville's blowing him up, that means Louisville studied his film in the 1 week they had, and he did the exact same stuff, and his defense is solvable by good offenses. And that's a real problem, right? Because if you're going to win national championships down the road and ACC championships down the road, you're not playing middle-of-the-road ACC teams. You're playing teams that have really good offenses, and if those really good offenses with really good coaches can easily solve what Lance Guidry's doing game after game, and there's not that much difference in what he's trying to do to different opponents, that's a problem. Shannon Dawson last year obviously underperformed. We could say, it was Tyler Van Dyke's fault. A game like this will show us, was it? Because Cam Ward is so exceptional that if this Louisville defense, which is a middle-of-the-road, above average defense, okay, but middle-of-the-road passing defense for sure, if he can't find ways to get his players open against a pretty average Louisville secondary, then, what are we here for, right? These are the games where people say you earn your money, these Louisville games. And it's just a Louisville game. Because other than that, if you lose to Louisville, you're going to drop to 15th in the polls maybe? They're going to punish Miami for not having played anybody. Some people think they should have lost the last 2 games. Some people think they did lose the last 2 games. They're going to punish Miami. So let's say you're 15th, even worse potentially. Who do you play after this that's going to make you move up above even a 2-loss team eventually? Georgia Tech and Syracuse, those are your big wins now. You have to win on Saturday. This is the money game. They better frickin' earn their money. and they better play really, really well. So I don't care what these grades say, because at the end of the day, it's a show me at noon on Saturday. And what I don't want to be shown is it's the same old frickin' thing where they just show up and have the same scheme they've always had, and they don't take it to the other team based on some of the weaknesses they found in the other team, which Cal, by the way, did to Miami, right? They attacked that Miami secondary and caused all kinds of confusion in that secondary with that 1 week off. That's what I want to see Miami do to Louisville, or I will be extremely disappointed.
All right. So Pro Football Focus, I mean, I get that it gets a little controversial. I get that they don't get everything right, but it's a guideline, okay? And you need guidelines. Like, you can't, you can have random opinions based on nothing, but they're really not worth a whole heck of a lot. At least Pro Football Focus gives you a guideline of what somebody who's sitting there, or a team of people that are sitting there looking at a game and studying every player on every play, what they are seeing, and they're assigning a grade literally to every player on every play. And no, they're not getting it perfect, but they don't know all the time what schemes are being run and what players are supposed to do. But like Matt said, on the basics of football, they're pretty good. Like, they can tell you whether an offensive lineman is doing a good job blocking or not. And so I like Pro Football Focus a lot. I like the data that they give us. I think it's very helpful. Is it the end all be all? No, and nobody should take it that way. Now, the process of grading the midseason, I think, is a little bit tricky. You've had different levels of competition. You have had back-to-back weeks where you almost lost. How do you look at that, Matt? How do you look at a law at these two games? I look at them very analytically. I mean, I look at them honestly, analytically. I'm not afraid to say that they almost lost. And I've been trying to figure out, how can this team that has been enhanced to such a degree almost lose 2 weeks in a row like this? I mean, it's unfathomable to me. And it comes down to me is two things. A, too many players on defense are making way too many mistakes, and they're giving up way too big chunks of yards at a time. That's allowing the opposing offenses to be more effective than they probably deserve to be on their own merits. That's the first thing that I would certainly come up with. And then the second thing I would come up with is how many good football players that they have on this roster that are not contributing to the bottom line on a week-to-week basis. And there's a whole lot of them. And to me, the challenge for the coaches is, offensively, I want to see them. You don't want to take Cam Ward away from being Cam Ward, but I don't know that I would have him freestyling as loosely as he's been and has gotten away with. Yes, the last 2 weeks with turning the ball over and stuff like that, has certainly gotten away with it and been able to pull it out with better play in the second halves. But I want a little more, just a little more structure. I want to be able to get a little bit more Christopher Johnson involved in the game. I want to get a little more Jordan Lyle involved in the game. I want to make sure Mark Fletcher is impacting the game even more than he has been. I want to get Damian Martinez going a little bit more. I believe.
How many reps are you planning to play on offense? 150?
No, but I mean, I don't want to see these guys not impacting the result. Matt, listen, if you want to really be a harsh critic here, you're saying these last 2 weeks, the two best teams they've played this year, they almost lost to. Okay, this is a program that clearly has much better players, that has invested an enormous amount in the program, done everything you could possibly do to improve things, yet they are still playing ACC games in win some, lose some mold.
So why are you talking about the offense? The offense isn't the problem. The defense is the problem.
I'm going to get to the defense too.
But why would you change the offense? The offense is coming along.
Matt, look at turnovers against Virginia Tech. You can't just pretend they didn't happen. They happened. We can't, they happened. I mean,
you're talking about personnel you want to change. I wouldn't change the personnel.
I want to see more guys impacting the game than just Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying. I want to see more of the playmakers involved on offense. I'll get
so
the defense.
So your plan is to defense. Let me ask you a question, because if I'm understanding you correctly, you want to run the ball more and go away from Xavier Restrepo and use other people.
More. I want to throw the ball to the backs more. I think it's been highly effective.
Right. So you want to go away from Xavier Restrepo and change how you're passing the ball, even though you're averaging 48 points a game and are the #1 offense in the country. I'm just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly.
You are. If they are going to get, if they are going to get through, if they're going to get through this thing, and I know I'm going to take a lot of crap from people, but if they're going to get to the end here, to the finish line, I think it's got to be more than Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo. I just do, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can ride
the reason you're wrong is because it's not Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo. You can say that and make it sound like a fact, but it's not true.
You don't know what you're saying.
He's the leading receiver, but not the same way he was with Tyler Van Dyke.
You don't know what this offense would look like with all these other guys involved more. I mean, yes, Restrepo's gotten to shine, no argument. Cam Ward is shining. I mean, he's the talk of the country.
I mean, would it surprise you?
You're almost losing, and it's not just the defense.
Gary, before you sound like a schmuck, would it surprise you to know that Xavier Restrepo has been targeted 43 times and Isaiah Horton, who's a backup, 39 times? Would that surprise you? You make it sound like every throw is going to Restrepo. I mean, Sam Brown, 34 targets. Jacoby George, 33 targets. They're not producing the same amount because Restrepo is better than them right now. So, don't be saying let's throw to other guys. They're throwing to all 4 guys equally. And
I believe that they could produce too.
If it's 4 targets a game, 4 targets over the season, it's less than a target a game difference. And you're making a big deal out of like it's only Ward to Restrepo. It couldn't be farther than the truth.
I'm clearly not expressing myself properly, so I'm going to keep trying.
No. They
are going to play better competition down the road. They are going to play teams that are going to be able to take Xavier Restrepo out. Okay, and these other guys have got to be productive.
Okay, so you want other players to step up, not target them more, not run the ball more to these guys. You just want the players who are playing to do better.
I don't know if they need to step up. Maybe they're playing great. Maybe Jacoby George is playing great. He's just not getting the same opportunities. Maybe Isaiah Horton's playing great, and he's not getting the opportunity to make the 77-yard catch late in the game like Restrepo is. I have no problem with Restrepo. I think Restrepo's great. I understand that the competition is going to get better than this later in the year. I think this team has a great opportunity this season to make it finally, for a Miami team to finally win the damn ACC. Okay, enough of the same plus same plus same. What do we need to do to get out of that? Okay, and maximize the capabilities of this team so that they're not almost losing the Cal and Virginia Tech and derailing the season, which easily could have happened in a span of 7 days. If a couple plays don't go their way, and they were razor-thin margins on those plays, Matt, if they don't go their way, we're sitting here talking about, oh my God, what a disaster. We're 4-2. So I'm looking at this. I'm saying, how can they get out of this? Okay.
I just feel like we need to go on CBS, the two of us, and have fact checkers when we're talking, because it's two alternate realities.
I'm trying to explain it to you. I get that you're
being skeptical. What you're talking about.
You and everybody else is going to be skeptical about what I'm saying, and
I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. The defense
going on for 20 years. Gary, listen, I kept
defense.
saying
Defense. I'm all on board with making defense. I'm all on board with making wholesale changes. Offense. Why make wholesale changes? It's working.
Matt, listen, I've been right about this year after year after year after year. I'm the one that coined the phrase "same plus same equals same." Same thing every year and getting the same result. I want to see in the second half of the season, I want to see, and I do believe Mario will do this. He's a big believer in self-scouting. I want them to figure out why these games are close. I don't think it's just the defense. I don't. The defense has plenty of improving to do too, and I'll get to that. It's not just the defense, okay? The offensive line has not maxed itself out, not even close. Okay, there's not enough playmakers that are impacting the bottom line. Okay, and I know Horton and George have gotten some targets or whatever. They are not impacting the bottom line the way Restrepo is. I would like to see them impact the bottom line more. I would like to see the offense become less predictable. All focus. We were talking with Gino Toretto about this last night on the Lamar Thomas show. When the going gets tough, you know what they're doing. I mean, it's going to be Cam Ward throwing to Restrepo. Well, eventually there's going to be a team with good enough defensive backs that are going to be able to stop that. And then it's going to be what? Just take the L, the season. Oh, well, just another season where we lose games that we shouldn't lose. They got the benefit of the breaks 2 weeks in a row. They're 6-0, ranked number 6 in the country. The table is set for Miami to finally have a great season this year. I don't think they can have it if they don't self-evaluate and figure out why these games are so close. And I think they are doing that. I'm not saying that they're not. I know Mario's doing that. He's a huge believer in self-scouting. But to me, that is the key for this open week, to figure out what they need to do to start maxing out the talent they have on this team, because I think they have a lot of it that's not impacting the results on Saturdays. And to get to the finish line here this season, I think that change and to get ready then hopefully for the ACC championship game and then the playoff, which is all that really matters anymore in today's modern day college football. Defensively, I thought the defensive line has not played as well the last couple weeks. Simeon Barrow has, but I don't think Tyler Barron has. Tyler Barron, I know he's probably a little banged up. I know he is, but he hasn't been close to playing at the level he was, say, in Gainesville. I want to see Kiko Manoa get himself going a little bit better. He hasn't been as effective this year as he's been in the past. I want to see the effort from Wesley Besaint that we saw on that big fourth quarter play. I want to see it show up more often during the course of the game. I mean, I look back at the Cal game, and I'm thinking Wesley Besaint, and I'm thinking that, hey, I want to see it more than one time a game. We're all of a sudden sitting here talking about Mish Powell. Is he slow? Oh, my God, he looks so slow against Cal. Is he too slow? We weren't saying that in the first part of the season. He didn't look slow against the Gators. He looked pretty darn good early in the year. Why has he suddenly stopped performing as effectively as he was? Is he confused? Do they need to simplify the defense? You could look at all those busts against Cal. Why were these guys in the split second that they had to make decisions, making the wrong ones and turning guys loose? So these are all things that have to be evaluated, and it's a long laundry list, Matt, for a team that's 6-0 and ranked number 6 in the country. But you better acknowledge it, or else we've seen the last 2 weeks where this is headed. And if you go down this path week after week after week, you are going to win some and lose some. You are not going to get every break like they've gotten the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things you say make sense.
Go to the comments, talk about how I don't know crap. It's fine. I'm just giving you my perspective after watching this for so many years. It's there are things that need to be addressed here in the open week. And again, I feel very confident in Mario that he's making sure that they internally are addressing all these things.
Some of the things you say make sense, but the only thing I take issue with mostly is the offense, right? Because as you say, same plus same equals same. They're already the number one offense in the country for a reason, right? So they're doing things really well. What I would agree with on the offense, and I think you mentioned more the defense, but you can't keep running the same plays over and over again, because eventually, that's what teams plan for. And maybe that's what you're talking about with Restrepo is, hey, if you keep going to him, they'll figure it out. So yeah, of course you need to have wrinkles. Every team, they're going to do that. I mean, that's just baked into the cake. I don't know what the saying is. Baked into the pie, baked into the whatever the hell you make, muffins. I make banana bread. So it's baked into the chalk chip banana bread. But that goes without saying. You better be doing wrinkles here and there. If you run a certain play 2 games in a row, a certain route, then you do a double move off of it the next game, right? Because they're jumping on that based on the film, stuff like that. Obvious stuff. I mean, you don't need to say that, right? They know to do that. The only personnel, I would not do a lot of running back personnel changes. I would use Mark Fletcher more as a runner, Damian Martinez more as a receiver. To me, Damian Martinez is a third down back at this point, because I think Mark Fletcher with the ball in his hands is better. That's just how it looks to me. He's more explosive, finding the holes better. And I would just use those 2 guys. I don't need to see Jordan Lyle and Chris Johnson like Gary does. That's just me. I would also start using Elijah Lofton more instead of Riley Williams, because I think Elijah Lofton offers a lot of different looks that other teams have not seen. He can do so many different things, and I love him as a goal line short yardage running back. I know Mark Fletcher is really good at that too, but it's just another look, right? You could have 2 backs in the backfield lined up both next to Cam Ward, and you could do all sorts of different things off of that with Elijah Lofton's skill set. I think that is something that I hope during the bye week they really looked into, because that's the one guy that I would add in on offense. I would not add in anybody else.
I agree with you. Elijah Lofton is a freak.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not using him more, but that's something I would certainly do more. I mean, there's not guys like him on any team.
Different, yeah. Right. You might get the same result, like
But that's the only personnel change I would make on offense. On defense, I agree with you. Like Mawanoa at linebacker has been disappointing compared to last year. Very disappointing the last 2 games. Powell looked great against really slow, bad teams, and when he gets fast guys, they run right by him. That's a problem. And Wesley Bassins, I think, is playing great. I don't know why you mentioned him having to constantly play that way. I thought he's been playing great all year, honestly, compared to what he was the last couple of years.
But this is a kid that I think could even take it up a whole nother level by making the effort like he made on that one play. I mean, what a play. I mean, I know they wanted to, a lot of people wanted to call him for targeting on that play, and he probably could have used a little bit better technique on the tackle. But what effort and what a play. And that shows me what he is capable of doing on a more regular basis. I want to see it show up more.
I just feel like you haven't been watching him. I mean, his plays on third down.
But we're not seeing him show up like that.
He showed up like that against Florida. There was 2 or 3 third downs that Florida had early in the game where he just freaking knifed through and just exploded plays to force punts. But anyway, I thought he's been playing great all year. And I also don't agree with your defensive line criticism. Miami, I think, is in the top. I think they're number 18 in the country in tackles for loss. Their defensive line's getting plenty of pressure. Tyler Barron has more pressures, and whoever's number 2 on the list has as many pressures as the freaking Louisville All-American from last year. Okay, like they're getting pressure.
Not the last 2 weeks.
Not the last 2 weeks.
I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, I haven't had a. I haven't had an issue.
Correct me, but I don't think the last.
I've not had an issue with the defensive lines run stopping or pass rushing. Honestly, I think they've been fine. And Ruben Bain's going to be more in shape. I mean, when you tell me, I don't understand how you tell me that Tyler Barron, Ruben Bain, Akeem Messidor, and Simeon Barrow aren't all like amazing players. Like that. That's a freaking all conference defensive line 1 to 4 right there. And then
how
behind
many
them,
did Virginia Tech score?
They scored 34 and I think 38 for.
How many points did Cal score?
Yeah, 38, of course.
Right.
I blame the secondary.
We can't possibly say that there's ways the defense can improve. Like, I don't understand.
I think the secondary is a major
can improve.
Both teams really exploited the secondary in both games. To me, if the secondary was really good in both games, neither of those teams score 17 points. That's not on the defensive line. If the defensive line is going to be blamed every time there's a deep pass that hits, I mean, then yeah, they're terrible. But like at some point, the cornerbacks and safeties need to cover guys. They can't be running totally free. That's not the defensive line's fault, Gary. The defensive line can't get there in 2 seconds every single time. They don't just blow up plays like that.
Against Virginia Tech, we had 2 sacks for 13 yards and losses. And I'm looking up Cal right now. And I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not looking to be offensive here. I think that they have a lot more. I don't think this team is close to peaking, is what I'm getting at. I don't think they're close to maxing themselves out, but I think they got to put it in overdrive here, man. Like, this is the toughest game of the season coming up a week from Saturday, and we can sit here and be all soft and kiss assy and all that. I don't think I was doing that either. Like no, like
here. Look, I'm calling it up right now. Okay, so here's the Miami against Virginia Tech. Okay, 33 quarterback pressures for the Miami Hurricanes out of 69 defensive plays. That's incredible pressure.
Okay, they've
6 from Malik Bryant, 5 from.
2 sacks for 13 yards and losses the last 2 games.
But Gary, Tyler Barron had 5 quarterback carries. You're not going to sack them every time. You have to get pressure. If the guy's sitting back there and it's time to throw, that's one thing. What I'm trying to say is he doesn't have time to throw. What I'm saying is the defensive back is failing. The secondary is failing. If you're pressuring the guy half the time that there's plays, and by the way, out of those 69 total plays, those aren't even all passing plays, right? So 33 quarterback pressures is an insane amount of pressures in that one game against Virginia Tech, okay? And
they scored 38 points on 48 to 49 plays. And now I guess it was a pick 6, so you got to say 31 points. I mean, they scored 31 points on a half a game.
Jadaeus Richard has given up 5 for 6 completions for 91 yards. Mish Powell 4 for 6 completions and a touchdown he gave up. Mawanoa's targeted, gives up 2 out of 3 catches. I mean, it's 6 out of 7 on Darryl Porter. They caught 6 out of 7 on Darryl Porter that game. I don't understand why you're blaming the defensive line. That's all I'm saying. I think the secondary is the problem.
I'm not blaming the defensive line. I'm saying that they.
Oh, it sounds like you think they're not playing well. I think they're playing well. Is all I'm saying.
I don't think they've been.
I think the biggest problem is the secondary. I think the secondary
near as effective going after the quarterback the last couple of weeks as they can be, in my opinion. I think with the capabilities of these guys, they could be massively better, and I think they're going to need to be better. And I think they're going to need to be better next Saturday at Louisville.
All right. Well, Miami, by the way, had 18 pressures against Cal, so not as good, but only 50 reps of offense. And how many passes did Cal throw, right? 18 pressures, and I think Cal threw the ball, 24 times? I mean, again, a pressure means there's a guy near the quarterback forcing him to throw. It means he doesn't have a clean pocket, right? So that's just Pro Football Focus numbers. I don't know if they're true. Maybe you're seeing something different than the people watching the film, slowing it down in slow motion. Maybe your little speed-up brain is going to say that.
But how can this team get better? Because right now,
this team, the biggest problem.
Same plus same.
Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question. How this team can get better. The way this team can
clarify this, because I know people are mad at me right now. I'm seeing same plus same equals same, just like we've seen for the last several years. But the difference is, I think there's hope that we never had before. And that's because of all these improvements that I'm talking about that I think are realistic improvements. And I think this team has a mile of better to get. That's just my opinion.
So my concern is that this is the wrong defensive personnel for a Lance Guidry team. When Lance Guidry was hired, everybody agreed, and by everybody I mean me, that you need good cornerbacks in a Lance Guidry system. He loves to be aggressive. He loves to leave his corners one-on-one on an island, no matter who they're playing against, no matter what top receiver they're playing against. Ja'Cory Brooks, doesn't matter. They'll play one-on-one against anybody. They don't care. They like to be tested, and they will throw the house at the quarterback to make the quarterback uncomfortable, not quite sure what he's seeing, and that's it. Like, he'll match up defensive ends on slot guys. We've seen that. He'll match up safeties on slot guys. We've seen that. Does he get burned sometimes? Yes. Does it work out great sometimes? Yes. That's his defense. And so when he was hired, we talked about this, how important it was that Miami really, really get great cornerbacks. Because with great cornerbacks, good luck to any other team that's trying to deal with Lance Guidry's system, right? But the Miami cornerback play has failed, in my opinion, really failed pretty badly so far this year, and Louisville is probably the best pure passing team they're going to face.
About OJ Frederick at all?
And Miami's probably facing the best passing offense that it's going to go against. So if you want one guy who's doing well, it is OJ Frederick. There's no doubt about it. Last I checked, he runs a 4.2. Last I checked, he runs a 4.25 and not a 4.21. So if OJ Frederick can cover every single receiver for Louisville, I think we'll be fine. If he can't, then Lance Guidry's defense needs to do something different. I agree with you, because same plus same equals same on defense is not good enough from what we've seen. And so what I want to see Lance Guidry do is become a different coordinator. He hates the bend but don't break defense. But when you have Cam Ward and that offense, make the other team earn it. Don't give them 50-yard easy touchdowns. Don't put your defense in those situations. I would love to see him with more too high safety. I know it's not what he wants to do. I mean, he literally tells us all the time he wants to attack. That's what he wants to do. He wants to make the quarterback think fast.
What happened at the end of the Virginia Tech
game? But I feel like they have enough up front with those four guys rushing that you can get pressure rushing for. And if you have to bring a linebacker blitz or a conventional blitz once in a while, fine. But don't be dropping Tyler Bowen in coverage and blitzing Noah instead of putting him in coverage or whatever it may be, just to try and confuse somebody. He needs to make it a little simpler for the defense. They look very confused a lot, actually, against Cal. Very confused a lot against Cal. And the cornerbacks, he has to recognize, aren't good enough. I know coaches always think all their players are the best and they're great and da-da-da. But like at some point, you got to recognize, hey, this is a problem. And I'm sure Shannon Dawson told him during the bye week, if I'm attacking you and I'm the offense coordinator, here's what I'm doing. And he's throwing on those cornerbacks all day long and probably not even trying to run the ball that much, okay? So, he needs to recognize that. And I think if he does that against Louisville, will be surprised. If he goes too high safety a lot, just basically has a lot of coverage, maybe even drops in the zone quite a bit because he does a lot of man-on-man, they will not be expecting that. Because it would be something a different coordinator, a normal coordinator would do. And I think he needs to do that with these current corners. And I think it will work against Louisville because A, they won't have planned for it. And B, that's what his defensive personnel is screaming at him after these last two games that he needs to do.
Well, the four guys better get to the quarterback because when he didn't pressure in
That's
Virginia,
the strength of the team. You got to let them do their job. Let them try.
but if
That
they
Louisville
don't,
offensive line is very average, by the way.
but if they don't get there, this coach will carve you up, man. He will carve.
I would
you
certainly try something different, and that's what I would try first. Okay,
I
but I don't disagree. Those Brown guys know what they're doing.
Oh my God! I look back to the end of the Virginia Tech game, and well, I guess the mistake he probably made there was he didn't rush 4; he only rushed 3. So maybe it would have looked different than if he had rushed 4, but. There were guys running loose all over the place. There were breakdowns. There was one play where the quarterback could have run for 30 yards if he hadn't thrown an incompletion instead. That defense did not look great when it wasn't wreaking havoc, when it wasn't being aggressive. So I don't know, man. Lance Kidry, this is his baby. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But the bottom line of all this conversation, and I'm going to move on to a new topic, but is that I just we could sit here and, be all kiss buddy if we want to be and talk about how great everything is at 6-0 and number 6 in the country. I mean, I look at this team and I don't think they're scratching the surface of what they can be. I think they have an enormous amount of upside. But the clock is ticking. I mean, we're now going into the second half of the season, and you got your biggest game coming up here in 9 days, and 8 days. And listen, I mean, you may have multiple undefeated teams in the ACC. I mean, the way this is going, it's all on the line at Louisville, high noon next Saturday, and I just think that they need to be at their best, and to get to their best and get to a higher level than they've been the last couple of weeks, I think is going to involve some give and take, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not looking to derail Cam Ward's Heisman Trophy campaign by any stretch of the imagination, but I will remind everybody, Cam Ward's never won anything in his career, and winning will help Cam Ward win the Heisman Trophy. A lot more than flashy stats. And, they didn't make up the saying stats are for losers for nothing. I just think they may have to consider, to max out the capabilities of this 85-man roster and this team, they may need to consider doing a few things a little differently. That's all. I'm not talking about, sitting down Cam Ward or taking the ball out of his hands or things like that. Might just have to get a little more structure, a little more consistently, is all I'm saying, and get more guys involved. But we'll see what happens as it moves forward. That's just what I took away when I took a step back and said, how can this team get better? You've heard what Matt has to say, and we've got many stories on the website, and we'll have more coming in the next few days. Each individual position, putting the grades out there, letting you guys know what Pro Football Focus thinks. Whether you want to take it as gospel or not is up to you guys. But right now it is all about evaluating the body of work and how it can get better. All right, let me take a moment here, guys, and talk to you about GameTime.co. And if you need tickets for a Canes game, starting with Louisville next week, actually, maybe you want to come make that trip. Hurricanes could certainly use you there. It does figure to be a very competitive game. Your best destination is GameTime.co or the GameTime app. I think they got it all covered when it comes to finding tickets for your favorite live events and making it just easy. They have this feature called GameTime Picks, where they filter out all of the fluff and only show you the most incredible deals on the greatest seats in the stadium or arena. So you don't have to waste your time going through all kinds of listings of tickets and trying to figure out, where's the best place to sit? What do I want to do? Game Time, they make it so much easier for you by just finding the best price on the greatest seats and giving you in different ways the best deals, whether it's a super deal, whether it's a last minute deal on tickets right up to the start of the event. Game Time's got you with their lowest price guarantee. They will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a cheaper seat than what you get from Game Time. Now, I talk about easy, okay? The thing that I love the most is they're all-in pricing, because when you are shopping for tickets, the biggest nightmare in the world out there is when you have to try to figure out, well, what am I paying for this ticket? And what are the damn fees that are being added on top of it? I mean, somebody needs to legislate that, but that's a whole nother argument. I mean, what a joke. Sometimes you end up paying more in fees than the cost of the ticket. So you toggle a little switch and you get all in pricing from Game Time, and a really, really, really great feature that they show you the total up front. You also can see the view from your seat with their seat view feature. So another great benefit of Game Time. They have event cancellation protection. If the event gets canceled, you get refunded within 24 hours. They have job loss assurance. If you lose your job and you really need that money that you just spent for the Taylor Swift concert coming up at Hard Rock, $2,000 a ticket because you didn't want to disappoint your little girl that wants to go to Taylor Swift. I guess boys go to Taylor Swift too. I don't want to discriminate against the boys out there. But man, I just lost my job. I really can't afford that $4,000 I spent on Taylor Swift tickets. You call up Game Time, they will take those tickets back from you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. You create an account, and the first time you go to make a purchase, you use the code ON3, and they will give you $20 off. That's code ON3, ON3. They give you $20 off your first purchase at Game Time, either on the website at gametime.co, not .com, .co, or you can use the Game Time app. So download Game Time today for your last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. What time is it? It's Game Time. And it's also time to go shopping while we're here in commercial mode. And if you want to go buy some Canes gear, there is no better place to go than Caneswear at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium. So if you want to catch them before a home game, very easy to do. You go by Caneswear, load up. You can even get some food next door and go tailgate and show off the U to the max and show how proud you are of this 6-0 start to the season, number 6 ranking that I still insist can be even better. And I think it will get even better. And, Caneswear, they've got everything: hats, shirts, jerseys. You can get yourself Cam Ward jersey, hoodies, flags, decals, magnets, anything you could possibly want. They have at Caneswear, and they have all different sizes for men, women, kids, babies. They will even dress up your pet in Canes gear. So it's more than a store. It's an experience. And they're at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or all day, every day at caneswear.com. So visit the store, 2655 South University Drive, Davie, or go to caneswear.com for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs.
Hey, what's the name of the store again on the website? I didn't catch it.
Caneswear, caneswear.com.
Okay. CanesWare?
No, WEAR. And it's gametime.co, not .com.
Mm-hmm.
Two great sponsors we have, honestly, this year. And the products are legit, man. So I hope you guys get a chance to try them out. All right. So
their products are legit. Which products aren't legit? The gold chain that Canes wore on the CaneSport live show? Are you taking a dig at that? What's the matter with you, man? So rude. That was a real chain.
All right. So let's see. We got a lot of other stuff on the website today. First things I'll talk about is Miami got a basketball commit, big center by the name of Ben Ahmed, who I like his tape. He's going to have to get a little more athletic, I think, at the college level, but another big guy to add to the equation in Jim Laranaga's program as they await a decision from the Boozer twins over at Miami Columbus. A lot of rumors going around that they would announce on Thursday, but they didn't. I don't know, man. I think Miami's hanging in there. I think it's, one day it's Miami, one day it's Duke. Obviously they haven't really made up their mind on exactly what they want to do. And I don't know, we'll see what happens, but that's obviously a huge recruitment. There are other kids I'm hearing that will come to Miami if the Boozer twins come to play with the Boozer twins. to elite level players. So this is a big time for Miami basketball recruiting. But this Ahmed commit was a nice pickup while they're waiting. We also have a lot of other recruiting stuff on the website. We have a coach's take. Miami offensive line commit Demetrius Campbell, who his coach tells us is playing like a 5-star, putting on a clinic in the first half of the season. We encourage you to check out that story. We have a story on 4-star edge commit, Herbert Scroggins. We're trying to stay on the pulse of these commits and keep you guys informed on exactly what the commits are doing. So we have a story with him. He has already recorded 12.5 sacks in the first half of his senior season. So Herbert Third Scroggins is what he calls himself, is having himself quite a senior year in high school. And you can check out that story and become more informed on that. We got another Miami Hurricanes 3-star defensive lineman commit, Micah Newton, who's moved inside the defensive tackle this fall, which is where he's expected to play at Miami. And we take a look at how he has improved going from the outside to the inside here in his senior year of high school. We have another story on Miami running back coach Matt Merritt's trip to Forney, Texas earlier this week to check up on 4-star prospect Javion Osborne. You can check out that story on the website today. And what else? I guess that's about it. We'll be continuing to bring you more. We've got a lot of recruiting stuff in the pipeline, and we encourage you to stay in tune to CaneSport.com through the weekend. And big high school game this week between St. Thomas and Chaminade. We'll be out there, and we'll be live from the crib, as we call it, and bringing you coverage of that as well, and the Miami prospects and what they're doing in that game. So enjoy your weekend, everybody, getting to see some of the other teams around the country. That's always a lot of fun. You can compare them to the Miami Hurricanes and see what you think. If you agree with me and to a less that this team has a ton of upside and a lot of different ways that it can improve, and improvement might involve some tough decisions. I mean, it might rattle some cages. It might make people upset. I'm sure there's some of you guys that are already cursing at me out there on the message boards and the YouTube comments and stuff, and talking about how I don't know what I'm talking about, but like, improvement and getting better might involve some tough decisions, and everyone might not be happy about them. But it's important, I think, that you don't take the stance that where we are right now, having just almost lost the last 2 games, legitimately almost losing the last 2 games, that it's just not good. It's not good enough, and it's not something that should be settled for. And maybe you do have to change a little bit to get better. That's all I'm saying. And I do expect Mario Cristobal to be all over this, because I know he believes in self-scout and he believes in honesty, and he's not afraid to make tough decisions. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens second half of the season, how they manage all this, and can they get through to the end, man? Can they make it this time around all the way through to the end? We were here once before in 2017, and we didn't do any of the stuff I'm talking about. And what happened? Got asses kicked by Pittsburgh the day after Thanksgiving, and then lost the championship game to Clemson, and then lost the bowl game to Wisconsin. Lost 0 to end the year. Got to keep getting better as the year goes on. If you like the show, like this channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons right now. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please head on over to our website. Join our great community of fans. They have a wonderful time every single day, yakking it up, beating each other up like this on the message boards and arguing these different points. You will truly enjoy your experience at CaneSport.com. If you're not yet a member, please come over and be one. So for Matt Shodell, who can spend the weekend outside the lab for a change, he's done all his hard work for the week. I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for watching us, and we will see you next time, everybody.